Welcome to the Global Grants Info Session. I am Joanna Bernstein, the Assistant Dean for Faculty Engagement and Special Projects, and I've been running the Global Grants Program since 2018. And this session will just be a general overview of all of the global grants. If you happen to be interested in a faculty-led study abroad, there will be another session next week on the 11th, specifically for that opportunity. We'll mention it in this session, but there's a lot more information for that, and it's a little bit different than some of the other grants. Okay. Also on the call with me is some other people involved with global grants. Lauren Marigali Ferrer, who is the Director for Study Abroad, Afia Asamoah, who's the Program Coordinator who deals with most of the global grants. She's the one who will be answering emails. And I believe Rocio is also here, who helps with the faculty-led study abroad in the study abroad office. All right, let's get started. We'll talk about an overview of all the different grants, and then after that, we'll have a Q&A session where we can answer any of your questions. But if during the presentation there is something that needs some clarification, please don't hesitate to either put it in the chat or unmute yourself and just ask. There aren't very many of us on at the moment, so it should be fine. Okay. So, the global grants are seed grants. They're not meant to be full research grants. They're really meant to start a new project, to help you start a new project, or a new exchange or something, just to give you a little bit of funding to do some exploration. And there are now 4 categories for the seed grants. International collaborative research, global health seed grants, and that's a specific category. Faculty-led study abroad, and as of last week, we have a new category that is very specific to Korea University. It is a parallel co-funding opportunity that we are going to call the Rutgers Korea University Collaborative Research. For all of the grants, you're eligible if you are tenured or tenure track faculty, clinical faculty, or NTTs who do have Rutgers appointments. However, if you are not a tenure or tenure track faculty, and certain categories of clinical faculty, you will need an extra letter in the application that basically from your department chair or your chief or the dean, saying that you will actually be appointed at Rutgers for the duration of the grant period. In order to apply, you cannot have an active Rutgers Global Seed grant that it hasn't been closed. So if you got a grant last year, you wouldn't really be eligible for this year. And you can only apply for one grant. That doesn't mean you can apply for an ICR grant and a faculty-led study abroad. You can only apply for one of them. And you cannot also, well, there's some nuances there, which I'll talk about when I start talking about the new category. You cannot apply for a research council grant or any of the other internal Rutgers funding opportunities on the same topic. So for example, if you wanted to do research on coastline research in Indonesia, for example, you can't apply for a global grant and also a research council grant on that same topic. You can apply for a research council grant on a different topic, just not on the same one. Okay, so this is sort of an overview of what the categories entail. International collaborative research is our biggest category. It's meant to promote collaborative and international research and scholarship with existing partners or new international partners. So it's typically a collaboration between Rutgers faculty and a faculty at an international or foreign institution. For the past year or so and continuing, we will be giving priority to those projects that include collaborators from South Korea, India, and Ghana. Those are particular areas of interest for us at the moment, but it does not mean that we're not going to consider other grants. Not all the grants are going to be for South Korea, India, or Ghana. Those grants will just be given some priority, and all things equal, that one will be given priority. The maximum request for the ICR, or the International Collaborative Research, is $10,000 for up to 2 years. The Global Health Seed grants are very similar, the similar eligibility requirements. However, these grants are intended to be interdisciplinary and to address health inequities around the world and also in international communities within New Jersey. There are 2 categories to the Global Health Seed grants. There's the education, training, capacity building, and then there's the research category. So if you're interested in submitting to the Global Health Research category, you have to choose one of those 2. Again, the maximum request will be for $10,000 for up to 2 years, very similar to ICR. If you have any questions about the Global Health Seed grants, there's an email down here at the bottom, info@globalhealth.rutgers.edu, and you can ask your questions there. You can also email us at grants@global.rutgers.edu, and we will help to answer as well, or send the email over to the Global Health Institute, who reviews these grants. Any questions so far? All right, moving on. This is the new opportunity. This is the Rutgers Korea University Collaborative Research Grants. These came about as a result of an MOU that we signed with Korea University back in April of 2025. And as part of the MOU, we agreed among the 2 universities to co-fund some research to promote interinstitutional research between Rutgers and Korea University. And in order to apply for this grant, you must have a partner at Korea University. At this time, we are not going to be doing any matching. So if you have interest, but you don't have a partner there, we're not really able to match you with somebody. So these are for faculty who already have a colleague there and they want to start a project. The faculty at Korea University will also be applying for their grants program, and their grants. The total request between the 2 universities will be $20,000 for each project for 1 year, where $10,000 comes from the Rutgers Global Grants Program and $10,000 from Korean University. The submission will happen in parallel. So you're not going to be submitting this to Korean University, you're submitting to Global Grants. Once the submission is made and we choose those that we think align with our own eligibility requirements, there will be a joint committee that decides which one that they want to fund. At the end of the grant period, you'll be expected to submit a joint peer-reviewed research paper and to submit a proposal for joint research. While this is something I want to put out there, and you all are the first people who are hearing about this, literally, because we only worked out the details yesterday. There will be more details on the website, but the good news is for this particular category, the applications will not be due until February to align with the grant period and the submission period for Korea University. So the rest of the global grants are due on December 5th. So those have you have about 1 month between now and the submission, the due date, but not for these. These you have plenty of time. These will appear on the website soon, so there's nothing there yet. If you have any questions about this grant or you're interested in this grant, please let me know. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. There's a lot of questions that we have to work out. But yeah, just let me know if you're interested in that. We can talk about it.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I was thinking about applying for the first one, and then I just got introduced this opportunity. So is it possible for me to apply for the first one due December 5th? And then if it's not really funded, then I can go for this one?
So I was avoiding answering that question, actually. That's a really good question. It won't, unfortunately, it won't align that way. Because our review process, you wouldn't find out until probably March. So the due dates don't really align. But we can talk about it more offline. If you do have a partner there already, why don't we talk about it more and see what makes sense?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
That's all I can say right now. I mean, we're still
Okay.
working out a lot of the details. We really did not know about this until last week. So this is brand new. I think it's a great opportunity too, but I think they're all good opportunities. So okay. Faculty-led study abroad. Lauren Marigali Ferrer, I'm going to let you take over at this point.
Yeah, sure. So as this slide indicates, we are planning to host a whole session devoted to talking through the entire process, but just a little bit of some information about our two categories. So there are two categories inside of the faculty-led study abroad grant. The first option to apply for is a site exploration grant. And the real kind of difference here is this grant is best suited for faculty who want to explore a location and to see if this is a viable option to lead a study abroad program. Maybe you don't have the infrastructure set up, you've never taken a group there, and you would like to see what that really looks like. So this one is really used to be a scouting trip. So that's kind of the primary uses of those funds. And that award is up to $3,500 to apply for the site exploration part. The second one is maybe more of what we would say a traditional study abroad faculty-led grant. And so this one we're calling a program implementation grant. So this one is really geared for faculty who have experience and established connections in the host country that you want to bring a group of students to, that you don't need that prior time period or funding to kind of do those logistical components to that. And then this grant is for $6,500. And what this funding does is it offsets some of the faculty expenses, the initial startup cost of a brand new program, and could also help with campus recruitment activities as you're creating a cohort of students to participate in your program. So we've also designed this in a way that faculty can apply for the site exploration 1 year, and then also then again in a following or a subsequent year, apply for a program implementation grant. But you don't have to have a site exploration grant in order to apply for the program implementation grant.
Great. Thank you for that, Lauren. Did you mention that the faculty-led study abroad grants are intended for programs that include at least 12 students?
Yeah, so we're trying to think about our programs from a sustainability sense, and the more students that you have on the program, the cheaper and more affordable a program can become with student participation. So, as you're thinking about planning, we usually set a minimum of 12, or it's usually 10 to 12. So we want to make sure that faculty aren't designing kind of more niche experiences only to take a group of 3, 4, or 5 students. So this is really a group of students designed to be about 12 students on a study abroad program.
Great, thanks. And if any of you are interested, I really encourage you to attend the next Zoom session, which is next week.
And we'll do the same. We'll record it, and the recording of the session will be made available. So should you not be able to attend, or you thought you had lots of questions being answered here and they're answered in the next session, we'll send out the recording to anybody who needs it.
And it'll be posted on the website too. Okay, so for all of the seed grants, we do have some general evaluation guidelines, and you can find most of this on the webpage as well. For the ICR and Global Health Seed grants, as well as the Rutgers Korea University collaboration grants, the grants need to have some high research value. They need to really specify the institutional relationship with the partner. A new relationship is perfectly fine, but that also needs to be addressed as why this institution is a good partner for this research. Projects that are interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary are preferred, and we would definitely like to see some long-term impact from this project and potential for external funding as the next step. Another thing you might think about is including students in the research project. The budget guidelines don't allow stipends, but you can provide hourly pay. But this is a great, these are all good opportunities to include students in research as well. For the faculty-led study abroad seed grants, they need to provide significant cultural immersion and also offer one or more units of academic credit. So they do need to be aligned with some curriculum, with curriculum as well. And then model best practices for inclusion of diverse and multidisciplinary perspectives, of course. And there it is, create capacity for at least 12 students. For the opportunity for the Rutgers Korea University, there will be a few additional requirements, but those will be posted on the webpage soon. So the application process is really pretty straightforward. It's an online process. There's a cover sheet that has to be signed by your dean or department chair or chief, depending on your particular faculty category. And then NTT will need to provide an additional letter. There are instructions for all of this on the website. The project description is limited at 3 pages. That does not include references or any other information you might want to add, but the description itself has a 3-page maximum and must follow sort of the guidelines for each of the category descriptions that are on the webpage. We'll need to see a detailed budget. At this stage, you do not need to use the RAPS, the sponsored research budget. You can use one that your department would prefer, but it does need to spell out all of the budget items and then a detailed budget narrative to go along with that. The one exception to the budget is for the faculty-led study abroad, you only need to provide the budget narrative. If there's any questions, we can get into it. You do not need to provide the detailed budget, but for all of the other grants you do. In addition, you need a signed letter of support from the project directors at the partnering institution. We will need 2-page CVs from you as the PI at Rutgers and also the project director. So CVs from you as the PI and then a CV from the project director along with a letter of support. And again, those are due on December 5th. And now we enter the section of Q&A. So
we have a
Ethan.
raised hand. Right on time.
Nice to see you, Ethan. Go
Um,
ahead.
Can you possibly go back one slide?
Mhm.
I think my question was that, so, because I would be applying probably, and I understand there'll be a separate session on this next week, but be applying for site exploration grant. And I have a couple of institutions in mind that I think will be interested in sort of having faculty speak to my students and possibly giving a sort of, a tour to different places and a guided tour. But I haven't, I've been in touch with a couple, but haven't like reached the level of sort of a formal partnership request yet. So is it okay? Like, would it be, viewed as okay if I sort of mentioned institutions and perhaps individual people at different sites that could become partner institutions but aren't yet, or that sort of be presumptuous? And if I don't have a letter, I should just say, I'm going to look for people and I don't have anyone yet.
No, the more detail you can provide about who potential partners can be, that this is also like an iterative process where myself, the Rocio, we will work with you through this process. And so it's good to know what you're thinking, because we might also have connections or contacts that we can say, oh, we have other faculty doing something there. So the more information you share with us through the project description for the exploration, the better. Nothing that you're going to put in there we would consider binding to the way you have to operate.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thanks.
Marlene, I saw your hand was up.
Hi. Thank you so much. Thanks, Joanna. Hi, everyone. I have a couple of questions. For the global grant, you mentioned interdisciplinary. Is it that like a requirement? Like I'm with the School of Public Health. So if we had to do some research somewhere in the Caribbean, do we need to work with other schools or other persons within the school? That's one. And my second question is in terms of a student doing research and going along with a student, be it like a master's student or someone doing their PhD or DRPH. Would the grant allow for travel and accommodation for the student who's going along and participating in the research? Thanks.
So I will answer the first question, the second question first. As far as travel for the student, yes, that can be part of the grant. That's not an issue. And it sounds great. So as far as interdisciplinary, that is, I don't want to say it's an aspiration. We'd like to see interdisciplinary grants because it shows that there's some interesting thought going on. To what degree it's interdisciplinary, that'll depend on the project itself, I guess. I know that some of the work that you have done is pretty interdisciplinary, so I at least from what I had seen so far. So it depends a little bit on the project. I know that's not really a solid answer, but I hope that helps.
Marlene, was that question also kind of coming from the study abroad's lens of an interdisciplinary program?
Not quite,
Or okay.
Quite
Okay.
honest.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking of other things, but thanks, Joanna's response.
We can talk more specifically. So as you get into writing the proposal, reach out again if you'd like.
Okay, I will. Thanks.
Okay, Anne.
Hi, thanks. I just want to ask a clarifying question for the CVs from the project director from each partner institution. If we're, planning a collaboration with a team, you still only want just one person CV from that international institution?
So are they all from the same institution or different institutions?
Possibly two, but I do have a team that I've been collaborating with at one institution.
Well, so let me put it this way. If you have multiple institutions, we'd like to see a CV and a letter of support from each one of the institutions. If it's a team at one university, let's say at least one CV, and that will be sort of the designee of the team. You can certainly provide more CVs. That is it's not a problem. And they can come from the same institution, but it's really meant to show, we want to keep track of what institutions you're working with. So if there's multiple, we want to see them from all the different institutions.
Okay.
If that helps, I hope.
Yeah, thank you.
Can the seed grant pay for a research assistant at the partner institution? It can, under certain circumstances. So we cannot provide a stipend because that's not allowable. In order to do that, you'll need to work with your business office, and the partner institution will need to become a vendor. And once they become a vendor, then they will send an invoice, that shows what what we need to pay on our end. So you can do that. It's just an extra step. And our office can help you set up the partner institution as a vendor if they're not already in the system. It's something that we do. It's not it takes a little bit of time, but we do this frequently.
I have a couple of questions here. So I'm wondering if I can apply for like 1 year grant and then just extend it at no cost extension. Is it possible? To 2
Sophia,
years?
do you want to answer this?
I mean, sure, I can try. It is best to apply for your grant with the amount of time that you think it will take. We only approve no cost extensions if there's some sort of extenuating circumstance, like maybe somebody's having some visa issues trying to visit, their partner abroad, and it's taken a long time, or some approvals just haven't gone through, maybe IRB delays. So it's not necessarily just like, only I've decided to extend it. It's just when there's a situation.
Okay.
So feel free to apply for the time you need.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
My next question is about the evaluation. So can you guys tell us a little bit more about how you guys evaluate the outcomes?
Sure. So each grant category has some specific things that they would like for you to include in the category. Then we go through a peer review stage where we take all the grants in one topic, and we have a group of faculty who are peer experts in that particular topic, to make sure that the content is, because I'm not an expert in all topics, so clearly I can read some on engineering, but that's about it. So the reviewers in the first round will be your peers at Rutgers. So keep that in mind. Some of them may be exactly in your field, and some may be in an adjacent field. So the project descriptions should be written for a knowledgeable but general audience, so that it's understandable. Occasionally, we will get some very specific, biological investigations that are incredibly, very niche, we'll put it that way, that are a little bit difficult to understand. So I wouldn't say make it really general, but just general enough so that somebody in your field or an adjacent field would be able to understand. Once we go through that, and then the peer reviewers sort of rank the ones that they prefer, then we have a second stage where we look at alignment with the goals in our office, with the goals for your particular chancellor-led unit. And then we decide which ones and how much money we have, and, kind of factor in all the other things that we have to factor in.
And once it's complete, then do you evaluate the outcomes or no?
So that is the evaluation process. So do you have a specific question about the evaluation?
So, we propose some of the goals, and if we happen to not meet the goals, maybe some of it.
Well, oh, you mean, do we give you back feedback?
Mm-hmm.
If you ask us nicely, we will.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a difficult proposition because the reviewers generally tend to be people that you all know. So we don't offer feedback for everybody all the time. But if you're really interested in it, we sort of then pull out the reviews and then go through what we think we can tell you. So yes, it's not exactly like NSF or, NEA or one of those
That's fair.
type.
Thank you.
So I saw that there was a question, a couple of quick questions. We do not have a template for the project description. It's short, so whatever you think best fits and describes what it is that you want to do would be fine. And the $10,000 is for the entire project, which can run 1 year or 2 years for ICR and for the global health. And so it's up to you how you want to spend the funds. Anne.
Yeah, thanks again. So I have a question about the like the focus. Is it possible to focus like the global grant for the ICR, the International Collaborative Research, on education, training, and capacity building? I noticed that was like a subheading for the global health grants.
Right.
But what about for the international collaboration grants?
Remind me what department you come from, or your
I'm in
school?
the GSE.
GSE. We have lots of grants that come from GSE, and they certainly range. I would say that it is a research grant, so typically we'd like to see something that's a little bit more research focused. But if capacity building is part of that, that can also work. There's a number of people in your school who've had global grants, so you might want to talk to Mary Curran. She's kind of our I think Mary Curran has won the award for the most global grants that we've ever given, possibly.
That's good to know.
But she'll be able to help you out, I think, too. And then there's some other, Tanya Sargent's had some grants. So I would encourage you to sort of talk to other people who've had grants, too.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question also.
Yeah.
Is there anything specifically that's excluded from consideration for funding? You mentioned about the stipends, so that's clear. Is there anything else that's particularly not something that Rutgers would support, like related to travel, anything at all?
On the website, there's some FAQs that talk about a lot of the budget guidelines. So I would encourage you to go back and look at those. There's some things that stand out. The grants don't support purchasing equipment. They're really meant for expendable things. There have been exceptions where somebody needs to collect data and they need a certain kind of way to do it. So we can talk about it, but generally we don't support any equipment purchase, no computers. Travel, so the travel guidelines, we encourage everybody to look at, be practical. We're not going to support travel to a country at a State Department level 4 and probably not a level 3. So with exceptions, but, so that's just from a risk and a safety point of view. I can't think of anything that is, other than that, if we've seen anything unusual. Can you think of anything, Afia?
Thanks.
I think, yeah. The budget guidelines on the webpage will give you a lot of information. Any more questions? In terms of the template, I would encourage you to look at the different categories that are listed on the webpage and look at what they require and use those as your guidelines for what to write on the project description. And the timeline for approval, that's a good question. We tend to be able to make the awards in mid-March. That's been our timeline for the past several years. And then the funds become available May 1st. Usually. I say that usually because it depends on whether or not you need IRB approval and that you've gotten everything submitted through RAPS. All projects, with the exception of faculty-led study abroad, need to be submitted through RAPS. So if you don't need IRB approval, that happens really quickly. If you do, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. It depends on the project. Ethan.
Yeah, there isn't sort of a template, I would say, but I found this about the project description. It does say it gives, I think, 6 different sections that should be included. I found that pretty helpful. The statement of need, objectives, design, innovation, partnership, and sustainability plan. So I think using those as a guide is good. And then I had a question that was answered by Afia, and I hope I'm Rocio. Okay. Earlier where I wasn't sure. Well, I have an idea of what the learning objectives and the design of the course are going to be, but for a study abroad course. But should I talk mostly about that in the description or the objectives of the site exploration itself? So I'm kind of trying to do both, making sure that it's clear, what I want to accomplish at the visit, but also the ideas I have for how to design the course, which I do have some ideas, pretty good ideas for at this point. I'm just sort of going out there to make sure I have to make contact with partners and explore the places and sort of line up, activities and places to visit and stuff like that. So,
Lauren,
it wasn't really a question, just a comment.
Well, and
Okay.
after the site exploration, there is still like a program proposal to lead the study abroad. And so then that's perhaps where the second part of what you were talking about would be fully fleshed out and fully developed, of like what you will specifically do with the students. I mean, right now we're looking at it from a site exploration spot. Is that a place of interest? How strong are your connections? What are your relative plans? How is this new and different from things that we do offer or that the school has in place in terms of study abroad?
Right. Okay.
Anne's asking about the timeline for the Korea University opportunity. I do not have a timeline for that yet, but the applications won't be due until February, I believe. So we'll have to see, because I need to find out more about what their timeline is as well. So we're just putting it all together.
Great, thank you.
Travel excluded for level 3. There is some nuance there for the level 3 countries. Generally, we discourage it, but there are some exceptions. And if that is definitely a place where you feel that you need to go, I would encourage you to talk about it. I believe, Rocio, you can tell me, this would require an exception to the travel policies.
Yes,
in order for that to happen.
Kira Maratis in the risk management office, she has a process, but I can give you some examples. So typically Mexico seems to be as a whole as a level 3, but we actually run a lot of programs in the Yucatan and Merida areas because that's a level 2. Colombia was another example where we've run programs in Manizales, so maybe not Bogota, maybe not the border with other countries, but in certain areas we've had approval. So it goes case by case.
Okay, so the best thing for me to do is to reach out to you, Rocio?
Yes, if you reach out to me with the location and the type of activity that you are hoping to do, then I will get you the policy, but also I'll tune Kara in, and if we need to schedule a phone call or a Zoom call, so that she can get the information back to you. So it's yeah. Do you know? Could you tell me what country you're looking
Yeah,
at?
Ethiopia I know is level 3, but Addis Ababa is generally considered level 2. And
Okay.
I did travel with Rutgers funding, and I did talk to several people in August about my own safety and whatever. So I'm not thinking about students right now, but
Mhm.
just for myself or some faculty who might want to also travel to Addis Ababa.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So for anything that's related to the faculty-led study abroad, Rocio can help you out. For faculty travel, it's a little bit different. Students, whenever there's students involved, then absolutely
Yeah.
we need the risk. Well, we always need risk management, but that's the priority levels certainly are heightened. For faculty travel, Ethiopia is definitely an interesting one. So, but we can certainly talk about it, and if you contact us, and we can talk about it with Kara as well.
Thank you so much.
So no, there is no format for the CV, but it does need to be 2 pages. So no 35-page CVs, please. You will clog our online system. Nobody will be happy with you.
My students always ask me this, and the question depends on how many students I have, but are you guys able to look at applications before we submit them, including project descriptions, or can't do that because you'd be offering different help to different people and maybe you would bias you and stuff like that?
Well, it doesn't bias me, but I can do it to a certain extent. I'm not a content expert necessarily, so we would be able to answer questions more about formatting and maybe some of the other elements.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it depends on how many people are asking. You're right.
Case by case. Got it.
And
Okay.
also depends about how far in advance. So a week before, I
Right.
generally have a blackout. Like if you're going to ask me the week before, it's not happening.
I tell my students that too, so understood.
Good. I'm glad we're all on the same page.